And as the fire sighs lower, you realize that nothing tastes sweeter than survival itself. The stew has settled into your belly like a heavy stone, and for a little while you drift in that half-awake state where the world feels softer, less threatening. The fire cracks, children murmur, and the buzzing of insects swells with the heat of afternoon. Slowly, as if some invisible hand nudges you, the camp stirs back to life. You rub the sleep from your eyes, stretch the stiffness from your shoulders, and glance around. No one ever really rests for long. This is the time of day when bonds are tended, not just tools. You notice a cluster of men sitting together, sharpening their spears, but the blades are almost an excuse. The real work is in the laughter, the quiet mocking, the sideways glances that keep egos in check. One man boasts about how he drove the deer into the trap this morning, chest puffed out like a rooster. Another cuts him down with a sly grin, pointing out that he nearly tripped over his own feet. The group bursts into laughter. You laugh too, because in this world, humor is glue without it. The cracks would split wider than anyone dares. Across the fire, the women are weaving fibers into rope, nimble fingers pulling and twisting with a rhythm so practiced it's almost music. Their voices overlap, telling stories that drift into the hot air. You catch fragment tales of ancestors who crossed great rivers, who fought beasts with nothing but sharpened sticks, who called the stars by names you've never heard. Maybe the stories are true. Maybe they're only half. What matters isn't the accuracy, it's the way the children lean closer, eyes wide, memorizing each word as if their lives depend on it. And in a way, they do. Stories carry lessons. When memory is the only library, you join a smaller circle where men and women mix more freely. Someone begins to mimic the high-pitched squeal of the boar that passed camp earlier, thrashing arms and rolling in the dirt. The tribe roars with laughter, children pointing, nearly falling over themselves. You can't help but smile, even if you try to keep it cool. Laughter in the face of danger isn't denial, it's strategy. When you laugh at what scares you, it shrinks, just enough to make survival possible. Still, you notice the other side of the coin. Not every glance is friendly. A man sits a little apart, sharpening his blade too furiously, his jaw tight. His eyes flicker toward another man who leans too easily against a woman's shoulder. Rivalries are quiet here, but they simmer, low and steady, like coals under ash. No one talks about them directly, but you feel it's the tension that keeps everyone alert, wary. Bonds are fragile, held together by both affection and suspicion. Too much trust, and you're naive. Too little, and you're alone. And if you're wondering how prehistoric tribes really work, whether men and women shared power equally, or whether hierarchies ruled, it's not a question with a neat answer. Some scholars suggest the bonds were looser, more cooperative, born from necessity. Others imagine strict rules, men clutching dominance like they clutch their spears. The truth probably shifted like the seasons, bending to survival's demand. What you see here is less about theory, more about balance. Whoever gathers respect, whoever proves useful, holds sway at least until hunger or disaster topples them. As the sun droops lower, the games begin. Children wrestle in the dirt, flailing limbs and squeals, while elders pretend not to watch too closely. You know it's more than play, it's practice. Each tumble teaches how to fall, how to rise again. Each mock blow plants the seed for survival in a harsher fight. You smirk, realizing childhood has always been a training ground disguised as fun. Someone begins to drum lightly on a hollow log. just enough to stir the air. The beat syncs with the rhythm of weaving, of carving, of sharpening. Soon voices join, humming along, not quite song, not quite chant, but something in between. You tap your fingers against your knee, surprised to feel how quickly your body falls into step with theirs. It's not entertainment, it's cohesion. The pulse binds you all like threads in a net. Alone, fragile. Together, unbreakable. At least, that's the hope. Then there are the small gestures, the ones no one speaks of, but everyone notices. A woman passing a handful of berries to a man without a word. An elder fixing a child's sling while pretending to scold him for tearing it. A youth offering his share of insect grubs to his grandmother. The tribe lives on such moments. Little transactions of care that ripple wider than the fire's circle. And still, the undercurrent of danger hums. Every laugh, every song is shadowed by the awareness that nothing lasts. A hawk screeches overhead, and heads tilt upward, silence falling fast. For a second, you see it in their faces, the instinctive tightening, the readiness to scatter or fight. Then it passes, the bird gliding harmlessly by, and conversation resumes. A little shakier than before. You lean back, watching the sky shift toward gold. Your jaw still aches from chewing tough meat. Your stomach heavy, but here in the warm lull of afternoon, you feel something unexpected, belonging. Not in the modern sense of team spirit with matching shirts and slogans, but in the raw, primal way of bodies sitting close enough to share heat, of voices weaving together until you can't tell your sound from theirs, and you wonder how fragile is this belonging. If food ran out tomorrow, would the laughter dry up, replaced by sharp stones and sharper words, or would the bonds bend, stretch, and survive another season? No one answers, because no one dares ask aloud. For now, you let the moment hold. You laugh at another joke, you nod at another story, and you let your wary eyes soften. The day is not done yet, but the afternoon gives you this a fragile pocket of peace, of connection, of being more than one but less than alone. The fire snaps. A child shrieks in mock battle, and the rope weaving grows longer by the minute. The tribe hums with the strange music of living, each sound stitched to the next, holding you in place just long enough to forget the sharp teeth waiting beyond. The tree-lined dot, and as the sun leans closer to evening, you feel it in your bones. This, too, is survival. The laughter fades as the shadows stretch longer, and with them comes the uneasy silence you know too well. Afternoon is a fragile window, too late for the morning's thrill, too early for the evening's. Fire and danger tends to slip in through the cracks. Your body senses it before your mind catches up. A tightness in your chest, an itch at the back of your neck. You aren't the only one. The men shift closer to their spears, eyes sweeping the tree line as if the leaves themselves might grow teeth. A child stumbles in the dirt, and instantly 3 adults snap their heads toward the sound, hands tense, ready. Nothing happens, just a small scrape and a wail, but you catch the way no one laughs this time. This is the hour when playfulness feels like an indulgence, and indulgence can kill. You breathe slower, sharper, trying to steady yourself. Predators are not fairy tales here. You've seen what they do, how quickly silence becomes chaos, how fast a life can end in blood and teeth. Sometimes it's a pack of wolves testing your perimeter. Sometimes it's the shadow of a big cat slinking through the grass, eyes glinting with a hunger that mirrors your own. And sometimes, more dangerous than beasts, it's other humans. Rival bands drifting too close, eyes narrowed, hands too quick to claim what isn't theirs. The tribe forms its defense without a word. Men edge outward, shoulders brushing, spears raised but not too high. Women draw the children inward, tightening the circle. Baskets pulled close, as if roots and berries could shield anyone from claws or blades. You feel your place here, your role carved out as much by instinct as by choice. You are a man among men, another body in the wall that says, "Not today," but unity has its cracks. You notice the same man who sulked earlier, still sharpening his blade with that too fierce concentration. His gaze flicks not only to the tree line, but also sideways, measuring his companions as if deciding whether to trust or compete. Survival isn't only about enemies outside the firelight. Sometimes it's about the shifting loyalties inside it. And yet, when a rustle in the grass makes everyone jerk to attention, he steps forward with the others, shoulders squared. Even grudges bow to danger. The sky darkens unexpectedly. A low rumble rolls across the land, and you tilt your head upward. Clouds gather heavy and black, the kind that turn afternoon into night without warning. Storms are predators too, only larger, less predictable. You smell the wetness before it comes, sharp and metallic, like stone breaking. Children squeal as the first drops spatter, and elders bark orders, gathering hides, dragging baskets beneath crude shelters. You grab what you can, fumbling as the rain thickens, pounding earth into mud within minutes. The tribe huddles close under the half-built shelter, the storm hammering all around. Lightning splits the sky, white-hot and terrifying. You feel the vibrations in your ribs, the ground itself trembling beneath you. One child cries, face buried in her mother's chest, and for a moment you want to do the same. Instead, you grip the arm of the man beside you, and he grips back, knuckles white. It isn't affection exactly, it's survival stitched into human contact. Historians sometimes argue whether storms were feared as random natural forces or worshipped as angry spirits. Watching your tribe shrink under the onslaught, you know the line between fear and reverence is thin. A storm doesn't care if you bow to it, but your mind craves meaning. Otherwise, it's just chaos. And chaos is harder to swallow than bitter roots. When the storm finally eases, the camp looks battered but intact. Smoke rises weakly from the drowned fire, and the air smells of wet earth, sharp and clean. You step out from under the shelter, mud squelching beneath your feet, hair plastered to your skull. The men exchange glances, a silent inventory, still here, still alive. One of them cracks a joke about the sky trying to wash the stink off all of you, and laughter bursts out, shaky but real. Relief always tastes sweeter when danger passes. And yet, danger doesn't end with the rain. A fresh set of tracks crisscross the camp's edge hoof prints, deeper than usual, pressed into soft mud. The hunters kneel to inspect, fingers tracing the ridges, eyes narrowing. The animal was close. Too close. If you had lingered outside the shelter, you might have been meat yourself. A quiet shiver runs through the group. The world never stops reminding you of your place in the food chain. Spoiler, you're not at the top as the sun slants lower. The air still heavy with dampness. You notice something shift among the people. The storm, the near brush with predators, it pulls you tighter together. The sulking man now sits in the circle, passing a scrap of meat to the boy he scolded earlier. A woman leans against her brother's shoulder, too weary to keep her distance. Bonds bend under strain, yes, but they also strengthen. Survival isn't just spears and shelters, it's knowing someone else will stand beside you when the grass rustles, when the sky cracks, when the shadows move. Even so, you keep scanning the edges of the clearing, eyes straining against the dusk. The land is too quiet, too watchful. Your stomach knots again, not from hunger this time, but from the knowledge that every day is borrowed. You exhale slowly, adjusting your grip on the spear. The fire sputters back to life with effort, smoke twisting into the damp air, fragile but defiant. People gather closer, shoulders brushing, voices low. Children nod sleepily, though their eyes keep flicking toward the dark, as if monsters might leap out any second. You can't blame them. You're watching, too. This is the rhythm of existence. Eat, laugh, bond, fear, endure. You are one man in a fragile wall, bound to the tribe not just by blood but by necessity. You need them as much as they need you. Alone, you'd already be a story no one remembers. Together, you have a chance. And as the last drops drip from the leaves, as the sky deepens into bruised purple, you know the evening will bring its own tasks. Shelter must be secured, fire coaxed higher, and hearts steadied once again. The day is not done with you yet. The air after the storm hangs heavy, damp and cool, as if the world has been wrung out like a hide stretched too far. Your feet sink slightly into the mud with each step, leaving prints that will probably be gone by morning. The tribe moves together, drifting back into camp in a loose herd. Everyone's slower now, but more watchful. The predators are quieter after rain, but never gone. You know this in your bones. You kneel to gather fallen branches, slick with moisture. Some snap easily, others bend stubbornly, refusing to give you what you need. A younger boy copies you, awkwardly fumbling with sticks that are too thin, too wet. You grunt, not unkindly, and hand him a thicker piece. He beams, teeth flashing white against mud-streaked cheeks. In another time, in another world, this moment might be called teaching. Here, it's survival disguised as patience. At the center of camp, a fire struggles to live. Smoke curls up, sharp and eye-stinging, before flames catch properly. The elders fuss, blowing steadily, coaxing heat out of damp wood, like midwives delivering fragile life. You and the others add what you can, forming a small pile of reserves, a barricade against the dark. Fire is more than warmth. It is the fence that predators hesitate to cross, the glue that holds a tribe together. Without it, you would all scatter, trembling in the trees. Easy pickings for anything with teeth. As the flames lick higher, the circle begins to reform. Women shake rain from hides, spreading them out to dry. Children press close to the warmth, yawning and rubbing eyes but still too alert to drift off. A man beside you wipes his blade with the edge of his fur, his motions steady, almost tender. You notice how the firelight plays across, faces softening some, sharpening others. Wrinkles deepen, eyes glow, scars glisten. It's a theater of survival, acted out every evening. The storm has stolen much of the day's strength. You see it in slumped shoulders, in the way laughter now comes as short bursts rather than bellyfuls. But fatigue, oddly, makes people honest. Jokes are simpler, smiles less guarded. Someone imitates the way the chief nearly slipped in the mud earlier, and a ripple of laughter runs through the group, even the chief himself shaking his head with a smirk. There's comfort in laughing at your leaders when the world outside takes itself too seriously. You chew on a strip of dried meat, tough as bark, each bite working your jaw like stone grinding stone. Still, it fills the hollow in your belly, and that's enough. Beside you, a woman tears meat into small bits, feeding them carefully to her child, who chews with exaggerated effort, as though imitating adults will make him one faster. It's strangely funny, watching a tiny person scowl at a mouthful as if the meat itself had insulted his pride. The fire snaps, throwing sparks into the night. You glance toward the shadows beyond the circle, half expecting eyes to gleam back at you. That edge between safety and threat feels razor. Fire guards you, yes, but it also betrays you light against the dark. An invitation for anything watching to know exactly where you are. This irony isn't lost on you, though you'd rather not dwell on it. Historians sometimes wonder whether these nightly gatherings were more about safety or about ritual. Sitting here, the fire warming your skin while the dark presses close, you feel the answer is both. Survival isn't only spears and metet's rhythm. Fire at dusk, stories murmured, bodies pressed near. Without rhythm, fear would devour you whole. The chief's voice rises low and steady, calling for silence. He points toward the half-finished shelter, its frame still bare where the storm stripped branches away. A few men grunt and rise, fetching more wood. You join them, dragging logs, fitting them into place. The work is heavy but shared, and that makes it lighter somehow. Sweat runs down your temple, mixing with the damp air. When the last piece slots into place, you feel a quiet pride, not just for yourself, but for the circle that will sleep a little drier tonight. When the task ends, the fire circle grows tighter, as if the act of building has pulled you closer together. Someone begins to hum, a low vibrating sound that barely carries above the crackle of flames. Others join in, wordless and deep, until it becomes a pulse you feel more than hear. The children sway, eyelids drooping, lulled by a music that has no melody but plenty of meaning. You realize, sitting there, that this is the closest thing you have to peace. Not silence never, silence but peace. The storm has passed, the fire lives, the tribe breathes together. For tonight, the balance holds. Tomorrow, it will tip again toward hunger, toward danger, toward loss. But not yet. Tonight, there is fire, and you are not alone. And as the flames burn steady, as the dark presses in but doesn't win, you know what comes next. The fire will give way to sleep. The tribe will fold itself into the night, trusting the embers to hold until dawn. And you, though your eyes still scan the shadows, will let your body sink too, if only for a little while. The fire has burned low now. Its light no longer a lively orange, but a deep, steady glow, as if the earth itself is breathing. Shadows stretch long, wavering across hides and weary faces. One by one, people curl against each other, wrapped in furs, breaths slowing into the rhythm of sleep. But not everyone is allowed that luxury at once. Someone must keep the watch. Tonight, it is partly your turn. You shift closer to the edge of the camp, where the firelight fades into the heavy black of the woods. The air smells of damp soil, smoke, and the faint sweetness of crushed grass. Your ears strain, catching the whisper of wind in branches, the soft crackle of embers, the occasional stir of a child rolling in sleep. The world at night feels magnified, every sound like a footstep, every movement like a threat. You grip a stone-tipped spear, the wood warm from your hand. It's heavy, reassuring, but you know well it isn't perfect. A cat's leap is faster than your swing, a wolf's hunger sharper than your arm. What really keeps the predators back is the fire, and the fact that you are not alone. 2 others sit near you, silent but solid, their faces half lit, eyes fixed on the dark. Companionship makes the silence less sharp. You exchange a glance, a small nod, an entire language of trust compressed into a movement. Behind you, the tribe sleeps in a heap of humanity. A baby stirs, whimpers once, then settles as its mother's hand brushes over its hair. You listen to that sound, the hum of continued life, and realize the stakes of your watch. It isn't only your own body you're protecting, it's the whole fragile network. Miss one shadow, mishear one rustle, and all of it can collapse. Some historians like to imagine these night watchers as grim and stoic, but you suspect they were also full of whispered jokes and muttered complaints. Even now, one of the men beside you sighs loudly, shaking his head at the cold, then whispers something about wishing the firewood was less damp. You huff a laugh through your nose. Humor, even quiet and petty, keeps the fear at bay. It's hard to dread the darkness when you're busy mocking soggy logs. Still, danger feels near. Somewhere beyond, an owl calls, low and haunting, followed by a rustle too heavy to be only wind. You stiffen, spear tightening in your grip. The others hear it too. Eyes dart, breaths halt. For a moment, the forest is a wall of waiting eyes you can't see. Then it passes. Just a boar, maybe, maybe not. You'll never know. And in that uncertainty lies the real weight of the night watch. The hours move strangely here. They stretch, sagging with silence, then snap quick when a noise jolts your heart. You find yourself counting breaths, then losing the number, then starting again. The sky doesn't help. The clouds veil the stars, keeping time hidden. It feels endless, like you've been sitting forever in this thin strip between light and dark. And yet, you know dawn will come, because it always has. That, at least, is the rhythm you trust. You shift again, stretching your legs, feeling the ache of the day's labor. Your thoughts wander to the hunt, to the storm, to the laughter around the fire. You picture tomorrow, the same pattern of hunger, danger, and brief moments of peace. Maybe one day the pattern will change, but not tonight. Tonight, the night belongs to shadows, and you are its reluctant custodian. The other watcher leans close, murmurs about how, in some clans, it is said, men took turns with songs to keep spirits away during the dark. He wonders aloud if the spirits here care for such things. You smile, a little crooked. Maybe spirits don't mind songs, maybe they even laugh at them. Who knows? The debate isn't new whether the songs were for humans to feel braver or for something else entirely. Either way, a whispered tune slips from his lips, uneven but soft. It doesn't carry far, but it fills the circle with something gentler than silence. And then you realize, this watch isn't just about spotting danger. It's about stitching the night together so it doesn't unravel into fear. A hum, a joke, a glance at the firewall threads binding the tribe, even while half of it sleeps. Without this, the night would eat at you from the inside, even if no predator ever appeared. Your turn will end soon. Another pair will shuffle forward, rubbing eyes, still heavy with sleep, to take your place. You will lie down, roll into the warmth of bodies pressed close, and let your eyelids fall. But for this moment, while the fire glows low and the night stretches endless, you are awake. You are the thin line between the sleeping tribe and the forest that waits, hungry and patient. And somehow, knowing that, you sit straighter, hold your spear tighter, and let the darkness breathe around you without swallowing you whole. The fire has shrunk into a bed of glowing coals, no longer dancing wildly but breathing slow, as though it too is ready to sleep. Around it, the tribe lies scattered like stones in a circle, each body folded into hides, each chest rising and falling in uneven rhythms. The ground is damped from the storm earlier, but no one seems to mind anymore. Warmth is warmth, and after a day of running, building, fearing, and laughing, even damp earth feels forgiving. You shift onto your side, pulling a fur closer around your shoulders. The spear rests nearby, its tip dulled with soot where it brushed the fire, but you're not gripping it anymore. For now, you trust. Not blindly, you never could, but in the way tired muscles and tired eyes finally surrender when there's no more to give. The night has its dangers, but you've passed your watch, and someone else sits upright at the edge of the camp, a silent figure outlined in orange glow. The air is thick with the smell of smoke, wet bark, and the faint musk of bodies packed close. It is not unpleasant, at least, not anymore. Your nose has learned to fold these scents together into something like comfort. You hear the fire pop, a baby whimper, a sigh, then the soft murmur of a mother soothing without words. That rhythm fills you a reminder that even in the blackest dark, the tribe still hums forward. You think about how odd it is that this is what safety looks like, not walls, not doors, not locks, just bodies pressed together and a small flame refusing to die. Historians may argue forever about when humans really felt at home, whether it began with huts or villages or stone towers. But lying here, the truth feels simpler. Home isn't a roof. It's the sound of someone else breathing nearby. Your mind wanders, the way it always does before sleep. You remember the storm, how it clawed through the trees, and how you thought, for a moment, the fire would drown. You remember the hunt, the sudden rush of life and death that left your chest hammering. You remember the laughter, rough and short, but real. Those memories drift past like smoke, not asking to stay, just brushing you with their warmth before fading. A man near you snores so loudly it rattles the air. Someone else kicks him sharply in the leg. Half asleep, irritation bubbling even in prehistory. You can't help but smile into the darkness. Some things don't change. Millennia later, people will still be arguing about whose snoring ruins the night. If there were a prehistoric version of Yelp, this man would have 1 star. The watcher at the edge of camp coughs softly, adjusting his spear. The sound reassures you more than silence could. It means he's awake, still guarding, still part of the circle. You wonder if he, too, whispers jokes to himself to fight off the dark. You hope so. A tribe without humor wouldn't last half as long as one with fire. Above, the clouds have broken and stars prick through, sharp and endless. You find yourself staring at them, eyes heavy but unwilling to close just yet. They are distant, unknowable, but you can't help but imagine patterns, shapes of animals, of people, of stories that haven't been told yet. Maybe one day, your descendants will give them names, build myths out of them, claim they hold destinies. Tonight, though, they are just points of light, faint companions while the world settles into silence. Your chest rises, falls. The day has left you with aches that sink into the ground as you sink into yourself. Around you, the tribe breathes. Together, a chorus of uneven voices weaving into a lullaby older than language. This, more than the fire, more than the spears, is what keeps you alive. Not just breathing, but breathing together, and slowly you begin to drift. The coals blur into soft orange haze. The stars smear at the edges of your vision. Sounds stretch. Thin and far away snoring becomes a distant drum. Crackling wood a faint whisper. Your mind loosens its grip, letting thoughts slide past like pebbles rolling down river. There is no need to hold them anymore. They can wait for tomorrow. In this half space, dreams rise. Not sharp images, not yet, but feelings, warmth of the fire, cool touch of rain, the weight of laughter in your chest. You imagine walking across fields that have no end, chasing herds that never tire, tasting berries that never run out. It is a softer world, painted with what your body longs for, stitched with what your tribe needs. You know it isn't real, but your heart doesn't care. The fire pops once more, sparks drifting upward like tiny stars trying to join their brothers above. You let the sight carry you further down into the slow rhythm of sleep. The watcher shifts again, but already his sound is fading from your awareness. The tribe remains around you, pressed into the earth, tied together by warmth, by trust, by the fragile thread of this night. And so, let your body loosen fully now. Feel the fur against your skin, the ground holding you steady, the breath in your chest softening. Let your eyes stay closed. Even if thoughts still try to swim, they will tire before you do. The coals are dimming, the air is cooling, but you are safe enough. You have given enough. You have survived enough. Each breath grows slower, longer, melting into the breaths around you. The tribe's song of sleep pulls you deeper, wrapping you in a blanket no hide could match. The world narrows, edges blur, everything softens. The fire is only a glow now, the stars only smudges of light, the dangers only shadows too far away to matter. So close your eyes, let go. The night is vast, but here you are small and safe inside it. The tribe rests, and so will you. Tomorrow will come, as it always does, but not yet. For now, let sleep hold you, carry you, keep you. End of script. Sweet dreams. Hey guys, tonight we are slipping back thousands upon thousands of years into a morning that looks nothing like yours, yet somehow feels oddly familiar. Imagine the first light crawling across a cold, wide plain. The grass is wet, the air cuts like a blade, and you're trying to stretch out your back after another night on a bed that is basically a pile of furs and whatever dry grass you could scrape together. Not exactly a memory foam mattress. You wake to the sound of sniffling, coughing, and someone already poking at the coals of the fire, trying to breathe life back into them. The smoke stings your eyes, and your stomach growls before your legs even decide to move. Survival has this way of reminding you that breakfast is not a given, it's a prize. And honestly, looking at the grey sky, the chill, and your sore limbs, you'd probably quit this lifestyle in about 3 minutes. You wouldn't last, let's be real that. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment with your local time and where you're listening from. Love hearing that someone in Ohio or maybe Oslo is drifting off to sleep with me, whispering about people who didn't even have socks. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink against the pale morning, rubbing grit from your eyes. Around you, the small camp stirs. A boy kicks at the ashes, trying to wake the fire, while a woman nudges her child to stop crying. You feel the bite of the air as you pull a fur tighter over your shoulders, watching the breath of everyone puff like ghosts in the cold. The sun barely peeks over the horizon, and already you can sense the pressure of the day. Hunger doesn't wait, and neither do predators. Somewhere far off, a crow's call echoes, sharp and lonely, as if mocking the sluggish rise of your tribe. You stand, shaking stiffness from your knees. The ground is damp, leaving cold prints on your feet. The smell of smoke mixes with damp earth, that permanent perfume of prehistoric life. You stretch, arching your back, trying to chase away the aches from sleeping half-curled on hides. Everyone's movements feel heavy, deliberate, like you're all trying to convince yourselves the day won't be as brutal as the last. But of course it will. Survival is basically the same song on repeat, just with a different verse of misery. The men nearby grunt greetings, not words of affection but rough nods that mean, "You're still here, good." A few pick up spears, leaning against rocks, checking the tips, running fingers over the sharp flint edges. You catch one of them eyeing the horizon, squinting into the light. There's no talk of coffee, no scrolling through a phone while waiting to wake up. Just this constant awareness. Food is out there, and if you don't move now, you'll spend another night gnawing on scraps or nothing at all. You crouch near the fire, watching someone coax a small flame back to life. The crackle is faint but comforting. Warmth is gold out here, fleeting and precious. You hold your hands close, feeling the sting as your fingers thaw. For a moment, you almost feel safe, almost imagine that this spot of light is enough to keep the world at bay. But you know better. The world beyond the glow is wide, empty, and full of teeth. Still, this is the rhythm of your life. Wake with the first light, shake off the cold, and prepare to walk into uncertainty. You glance at the others, sunken eyes, thin bodies wrapped in furs, all carrying the same unspoken question, what will today cost? You step forward, fur slipping from your shoulders, the chill instantly crawling down your spine. The morning has begun, whether you're ready or not. The air is sharper now, the kind of cold that sneaks into your bones even though you're moving. You follow the men out of camp, their silhouettes cutting against the pale horizon, spears balanced on shoulders, furs pulled tight, their footsteps sink into damp soil that clings stubbornly to toes. You try to step quietly, though every stick underfoot seems to have a personal vendetta against you. It cracks, and the nearest hunter glances back with that look that says, "Really? You're going to scare off dinner before we even start?" You lower your head, pretending you didn't notice. Ahead, the grass parts with the hush of dew sliding off leaves. The sky is lightning, pale pinks and blues that make the world look deceptively gentle. It isn't. Every man here is tense, eyes scanning for any twitch in the brush, every muscle ready to spring. This isn't sport. It's not some weekend camping trip where you bring jerky and trail mix in a backpack. This is, find something with meat on its bones, or watch your family chew boiled roots for the 5th night in a row. No pressure. One man stops, kneels, and points at a print in the mud. You crouch down to, staring as if the pattern might suddenly announce itself. "Hello. I am deer number 47, last seen heading northeast." All you really see is a dent in the ground, but he traces the edges with his finger, nods seriously, and the group shifts direction. You shuffle after them, trying to look like you also understood. Spoiler, you DIDN, single quotes, the pace picks up. You duck under branches, hearts quickening, not just from effort, but from the hum of hope. Maybe today the hunt goes well. Maybe today you won't go to sleep with that hollow ache gnawing inside. Hunger here is not a mild inconvenience, it's a shadow always tugging at you, making you sharper, edgier. Sometimes you wonder if it's hunger that keeps this group moving more than anything else. The men fan out as you approach a clearing, Spears lift in near-perfect unison, the wood glinting faintly in the first real sun of the day. You catch the faint musk of animals on the wind, sharp and earthy, mixed with the damp smell of crushed grass. Your pulse jumps. For a moment, you forget the cold. You're nothing but eyes, ears, and heartbeat. And then you see it. A deer head bent low, tearing at the grass with twitching ears. It looks so calm, so stupidly serene, as if it doesn't realize a small army is plotting its downfall 10 paces away. You feel almost guilty, almost, because you're also already imagining sinking your teeth into roasted meat. And isn't it funny, you think, how historians still debate whether prehistoric men were primarily hunters or scavengers, as though either option sounded particularly glamorous. Ah yes, we nobly chased mammoths, or actually, we waited for lions to leave scraps. Either way, you're still eating with dirt under your nails. The hunters move as one, quiet as shadows, though your foot snags on a root. You freeze, breath caught, eyes wide. The deer's head shoots up, ears flicking, nostrils flaring. For one eternal moment, time holds. You whisper in your mind, "Please don't run, please don't run," which, of course, is the exact cue for it to bolt. Got chaos explodes. Men surge forward, yelling, spears flying. The forest bursts into motion, branches whipping, leaves shattering into sound. You dash after them, lungs burning, legs slapping the earth. The deer bounds ahead, impossibly fast, and for a second you feel like this is all pointless. And then a spear finds its mark. The animal staggers, collapses into the grass with a heavy finality. The group descends, breath ragged, faces sharp with triumph. You stumble into the clearing, chest heaving. The smell hits first. Blood, iron-rich and metallic, spilling into the soil. The men crouch around the deer, murmuring low thanks, touching its still warm hide. The kill is not just meat, it's survival stamped into the dirt. There's reverence here, hidden beneath the exhaustion and relief. One man grins at you, lifting the spear, and mutters something like, "Beginner's luck, you didn't ruin it completely." You smile weakly, deciding not to point out that your contribution was mainly tripping over roots. Better to accept the win. They begin to work quickly, cutting with flint edges, hands steady from practice. Flesh parts, steam rising into the morning air, mixing with breath. You turn away for a second, not because you're squeamish, but because the smell is heavy, thick. The job is messy, but precise. Every strip of meat matters. Nothing will be wasted. Bone, tendon, hide. Later, someone might fashion a needle from ribs, or use sinew to bind. That's the poetry of this brutal world. Even death is recycled. You sling part of the carcass onto your shoulder, feeling the warm weight press into you. It's heavy, awkward, but strangely satisfying. You glance back at the clearing, at the smear of blood staining the grass. This, you think, is breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if you're lucky. A feast by prehistoric standards, a single overpriced steak by modern ones. As you trudge back toward camp, muscles burning, you notice the sky has brightened fully now. The sun climbs higher, washing the world in pale light. For the first time this morning, you feel a spark of warmth on your face, and though it doesn't last, it's enough. You smile despite yourself. Today, at least, you won't go hungry, but of course, the day has only just begun. The deer is still steaming when you stagger back into camp, and already hands are busy. The women bend low, Sharp flakes of stone scraping across hide with the steady rhythm of people who have done this more times than they can count. Children dart around the edges, half curious, half annoying, until someone snaps at them and they scatter like birds. You drop your share of the carcass into the pile, your shoulders aching, sweat cooling against your skin in the morning breeze. For a brief second, there's silence. Just the soft hiss of the fire, the scrape of flint, the weight of meat between life and death. And then the noise returns. Someone laughs. Someone complains that the sinew binding his spear came loose at the worst possible moment. A child whines about hunger. Life, relentless and noisy, folds itself right back into the business of survival. You crouch down near the men-shaping tools, and suddenly you realize this is the true heartbeat of the tribe. Not the dramatic rush of the hunt, not the chase through wet grass, but this, rocks hitting rocks, sparks of stone, the hum of steady labor. A broad-shouldered man squats with a lump of flint in his palm. He's got the kind of hands that look carved from tree roots, scoused, knotted, blunt-fingered, but when he brings the hammerstone down, it's precise, controlled. Strike, twist, flick. Tiny shards scatter across his knees, like glitter that cuts you if you're foolish enough to touch. You watch, mesmerized. This isn't mindless. It's skill, inherited and practiced until his muscles remember more than his brain does. Each edge is coaxed out like a secret waiting to be revealed. You pick up your own piece of flint, heavier than it looks, and clumsily mimic the motion. The first strike sends a shock up your wrist. The second knocks a sad little chip away, barely noticeable. By the third, your blade looks more like a gravel pebble than a weapon. The men smirk, one of them muttering that your deer this morning was saved not by your skill but in spite of it. Laughter follows, sharp but not cruel, more like the natural teasing of a group reminding you, you're part of this now, but you've still got a long way to go. You laugh along because it's better than sulking. Across the camp, women are at their own work. A pair hunch over the hide, scraping until the tough flesh softens, then rubbing in fat to keep it pliable. Another tends to a pot balanced on stones, steam rising with the earthy smell of roots. You notice how quick their hands are, how often they stop to adjust a child's cloak or shoo away a dog nosing the scraps. Survival here doesn't split into neat categories. Everyone overlaps, supports, fills the cracks. Still, you can't ignore the divide. Men with spears, women with hides, children learning through mimicry, and historians still debate how strict those roles were. Did women also nap, flint, and hunt, or was that mostly the men's world? Nobody can say for certain. What you do know is that the tribe survives because everyone is doing something. All at once, all the time. You try again with your flint. Tap, twist, sharper this time. A small flake falls, thin as glass, and suddenly you understand the appeal. It's like coaxing fire from a spark impossible until it happens, then obvious. You hold the edge up to the light. It's not elegant, but it could cut through skin. Pride bubbles in your chest. Maybe you won't always be the joke of the tribe. Nearby, one of the elders is working more slowly. His hands tremble as he chips, his back curved like a bent tree, but his eyes are sharp. Every strike is deliberate, as though he's chiseling memory into the stone itself. You wonder how many lifetimes of knowledge sit in those old bones, passed not through books or lectures, but by watching, repeating, failing, and trying again. Knowledge here is fragile. carried only in hands and eyes, and if he doesn't pass it on, it vanishes. No libraries, no YouTube tutorials, just shaky hands and patient eyes teaching by example. A young hunter nudges you with his foot, grinning as he shows off a perfectly napped spearhead. The edges are clean, the tip narrow, deadly. He binds it to a shaft with sinew, twisting until it's tight. You can almost feel the power in it, the future meals it promises. He catches you staring and smirks. You smirk back, because envy is useless here. Better to admire, maybe even to learn. What surprises you most isn't the violence of it, but the intimacy. Napping stone requires silence, attention, and a strange sort of tenderness. You strike too hard, the flint shatters uselessly. Too soft, and nothing happens. It's balance, patience, the kind of skill you usually associate with art rather than survival. And yet, here it is, at the core of staying alive. Funny, isn't it? In your world, people debate which smartphone has the best camera. Here, it's which rock edge is sharp enough to slice hide without breaking. Both are tools. Both, in their way, define what's possible. The camp hums. The fire crackles louder now, fed with fresh wood. Smoke threads through the air, stinging your eyes, but it smells like safety. Children mimic the men, smacking rocks together without aim, grinning at the noise. A woman throws them a look of exasperation, but doesn't stop them. This is how knowledge passes down, through play, through repetition, through bruised fingers and chipped stones. You lean back on your heels, blade in hand, and glance around. The men huddle close, joking under their breath, sharing quiet pride in each strike. The women laugh together, gossip spilling as quickly as the stew simmers. Someone bursts into song. No words, just a hum that drifts across the camp, like a thread binding everyone tighter. For all the hunger, for all the danger, there's warmth here, a sense of belonging. You don't survive alone. You survive because the group carries you with it. By midday, the pile of new tools has grown. Sharp flakes, fresh spearheads, even a few experimental shapes that might become scrapers or knives. You notice how little is wasted. Shards are swept up, edges tested, tucked into hides for later. Every scrap matters. In a world this lean, even broken rock has value. The sun climbs higher, light spilling harsh and bright. Your stomach growls again, loud enough to draw a chuckle from the man beside you. He jerks his chin toward the women stirring the pot. The smell is stronger now, earthy roots boiling with scraps of meat, steam curling upward like a promise. You wipe sweat from your brow, look down at your flint blade, then back at the food. Maybe, just maybe, the tribe will eat well today. And as you set your tool aside, flexing sore hands, you realize the rhythm is changing. The tools are ready, the fire is strong, and soon, you'll rise again to seek what else the land might offer. The morning of stone and sinew fades quietly into the hunger of noon. The fire has dimmed to a steady glow, and your hands are raw from stone chips when the women call out. Midday is no time to sit still. The men glance at one another, spears already lined up for the next hunt. But now the work shifts. Foraging isn't just women's business, it's everyone's stomach at stake. You rise, legs stiff, shoulders sore, and join the group moving toward the tree line. The air is hotter now, the shadows shorter, and sweat beads at the back of your neck as you trudge through the scrub. A child trots beside you, dragging a stick along the dirt, pretending it's a spear. Another clings to his mother's hip, dozing despite the jostle. This is not some romantic stroll in nature. The land doesn't care if you're tired. The land barely notices you at all. And yet, you keep walking, scanning the ground like your life depends on it, because it does. You crouch low, fingernails digging into dry soil, and tug at a stubborn root. It resists, as though the earth itself is mocking your hunger. You twist, pull harder, and finally it comes free with a clump of dirt that smears your fingers. The root smells sharp, earthy, not exactly appetizing. You know it will taste bitter, tough, maybe even a little dangerous if you picked the wrong one. But boiled in the pot, it can keep the edge of starvation back another day. You brush off the dirt, tuck it into the woven basket slung across your back, and move on. A woman ahead of you gasps softly, then beckons. Beneath a tangle of brambles, small berries gleam like drops of blood in the sun. You can almost feel your mouth water. Children dart forward, eager hands grabbing too quickly, and she scolds them sharply. Not all berries are kind. Some burn your stomach, some put you to sleep forever. She shows you how to test, rubbing one berry on the inside of her wrist, waiting, sniffing for the bitter tang. When she finally nods, you pluck carefully, dropping them into a pouch. The children sneak one into their mouths anyway, chewing with guilty delight. A man jokes that if they collapse, there'll be more meat for the rest of you. The laughter is rough, but it eases the tension. Humor, even dark, is another tool of survival. As you push deeper into the brush, you notice the rhythm of the group. The men fan out, eyes sharp for game trails, while the women kneel to scrape bark or tug greens from cracks in the soil. A grandmother hums under her breath as she fills her basket, her voice low and steady like a drumbeat. The sound carries oddly comforting, as though it keeps the forest itself at bay. Historians still debate how these tasks divided. Was it strictly women gathering, men hunting, or was survival too messy for strict rules? Looking around, you see only necessity. Whoever's hands are free, whoever spots the food first, that's who does the work. You find yourself next to a man with a face weathered like tree bark, and together you pry open a rotten log. Insects writhe inside, fat and wriggling, and he grins as if you've struck gold. He pops one into his mouth, crunching noisily, then offers you the rest. You hesitate, stomach twisting, but hunger is louder than disgust. The taste is nutty, earthy, and disturbingly alive until you crush it with your teeth. You swallow quickly, wiping your mouth. The man laughs, claps your back, and for a moment you almost feel proud, almost. The sun beats down harder, shadows shrinking to nothing. The baskets grow heavier, filled with roots, nuts, berries, and whatever scraps the land is willing to surrender. You notice how carefully each person steps, how often someone bends to check a leaf, a stem, a color. Mistakes are costly. Eat the wrong plant, and the whole tribe suffers when you don't wake up tomorrow. Knowledge here is carried in eyes and tongues, passed in whispers around the fire, guarded like treasure, and still there's room for tenderness. A woman hands you a handful of small, sour greens. She tells you to chew them slowly, to ease your thirst. You do, and the sharpness cuts through the dryness in your throat. You thank her with a nod, words unnecessary. The tribe's bond isn't spoken. It's in the sharing, the passing of a root, the warning look when danger lurks. A little further on, a cluster of mushrooms hides in the shade. Their caps gleam with dew, almost too perfect, too inviting. A young boy reaches for them, but an elder smacks his hand away with a stick. He scolds him sharply, pointing to the bright spots on the cap. "Death," he mutters, shaking his head. The boy frowns, but the lesson burns into him. Food is never just food. It's knowledge, memory, survival. Your stomach growls again, loud enough to make a woman chuckle. She tosses you a half-chewed root from her basket, smirking when you wrinkle your nose. "Better bitter than empty," she mutters. She's right, though that doesn't make chewing any easier. You gnaw anyway, dirt gritty between your teeth, and try to convince yourself it's a delicacy. Spoiler, it isn't. By the time the baskets are nearly full, the sun hangs heavy overhead. Sweat streaks your face, your back aches, and yet there's a quiet satisfaction in the weight slung across your shoulders. Every root, every berry, every insect is a small victory. The tribe will not starve today, not if the fire keeps burning and the pot keeps boiling. You glance around at the others. The men are teasing each other again, boasting about whose basket is heavier. The women roll their eyes, too tired for arguments. Children trail behind, their mouths stained purple with stolen berries, sticky fingers waving proudly. And despite the weariness, there's laughter. Survival isn't joyless, it's stitched together with small jokes, stolen bites, the warmth of belonging. At last, the group turns back toward camp, feet dragging, baskets thumping against weary hips. The path feels longer on the return, though you know it's the same distance. The thought of stew simmering, of firelight flickering, pulls you forward. The smell of smoke reaches you first, faint but unmistakable. A promise waiting just beyond the trees. The tribe gathers, heavier now with the burden of food, but lighter with the relief of return. The pot will boil again. The fire will glow again, and for one more day. The land has given enough, and as you step into the clearing, dropping your basket beside the fire, your eyes catch the glint of fresh meat already cooking, the deer from dawn, the roots from noon, the berries from the brushel of it blending into one hard-earned meal. The hum of labor fades into the quiet anticipation of eating. Hunger has a way of sharpening silence. The smell hits you before you even sit down. Smoke curls low, wrapping around your nose, carrying the heavy perfume of meat fat dripping into fire. Your stomach clenches so hard it almost hurts. You lower yourself onto a log near the flames, legs weak from the morning hunt, from the endless tugging of roots and berries. At last, the moment everyone has been stumbling toward food. Not abundance, never abundance, but enough. The pot bubbles slowly, its sides blackened by countless fires before this one. You watch as a woman stirs it with a carved stick, the steam wetting her face, making her hair cling to her skin. The broth inside is a muddle scraps of venison, bitter roots, berries already bleeding purple into the water. It isn't pretty. No chef would plate it for a royal feast. But in the language of survival, it's poetry. You cup your hands to take a sip when your turn comes. The liquid scalds your tongue, sharp, bitter, with the faint sweetness of cooked fruit. You wince, but you swallow, because even pain is better than the gnaw of hunger. A child beside you giggles at your face, then makes the same sour grimace when he drinks. For a moment, everyone laughs. The firelight glinting off tired eyes. A strip of meat is handed your way, strung on a sharpened stick. It's tough, sinewy, more chew than flavor, but you gnaw at it greedily. Each bite takes effort, your jaw aching, but the taste is victory. You remember the morning, the rush of hooves, the sting of sweat in your eyes, and suddenly every chew feels like proof you survived. Across from you, another man tears into his share, juice running down his chin. He wipes it with the back of his hand, grinning wide. He survived too. And here's the thing, no one eats alone. Even the smallest scrap is passed around, torn into uneven bits, chewed slowly to stretch the illusion of plenty. Sometimes an elder pretends they aren't hungry, nudging their bowl toward a child. Sometimes a mother pretends she's full, pushing her portion into the hands of her mate. Sharing isn't kindness here. It's survival mathematics. A tribe is only as strong as its weakest stomach. While you chew, someone begins to hum a low, steady tone that mingles with the crackle of fire. The rhythm is familiar, a kind of lull that makes your head dip forward in drowsy gratitude. For a heartbeat, it feels like the earth itself is singing you to rest. Your eyelids sag, heavy as stone, and you let yourself drift. The taste of smoke still coating your tongue, but rest never lasts long. A shout breaks through. The lookout has spotted movement near the edge of camp. Spears are clutched, children herded behind elders, eyes narrowing into the shadows. Tension ripples through the group, sharp as the edge of flint. Maybe it's only an animal. Maybe not. In this age, everything blurs, predator and prey. You wait, breath caught in your throat, until finally the lookout relaxes. A boar has passed, but far enough not to matter. The moment dissolves into shaky laughter. Someone makes a joke about inviting the boar for stew, as though hunger could ever be polite enough for guests. You chuckle too, though your grip on the stick hasn't loosened. It's a strange balance one moment, warm with food and laughter, the next prickling with fear. The human heart, it seems, never rests fully, even when the belly does. As the fire settles, people stretch out on the ground, bellies finally eased. Some lie back on furs, staring at the drifting smoke, eyes half closed. Others lean against one another, their breathing slowing to match the rhythm of the crackling logs. A child curls up at your side, head on your thigh, his small body radiating heat. You don't move, even though your leg grows numb. The weight is a reminder. You are part of this circle, part of this fragile chain. And if you're wondering how this meal really works in the long story of humans, well, scholars argue about the details. Did meat dominate the diet, or were roots and plants the true backbone? The truth is probably less glamorous than either tale. Your aching jaw tells you the meat is rare, precious, worth every risk of the hunt. But the bitter root in your bowl, the handful of greens, those keep you alive day after day. No single answer wins. What matters is this: everything you put into your mouth tonight is hard-earned, and none of it is guaranteed tomorrow. The sun tilts lower, shadows lengthen, and the lull of full stomachs makes the camp quieter than you'd expect. For once, no one is arguing, no one is snapping. Hunger sharpens tempers, but fullness softens them. You stretch out near the fire, heat seeping into your bones, and sigh. The sound is caught by another man, who sighs too, then another. Soon it's a ripple, like a secret language of relief. Your eyes drift shut, just for a moment, though you know better than to surrender completely. Sleep in daylight is a dangerous luxury, but it is also irresistible. The hum of insects, the warmth of the fire, the faint taste of smoke lingering in your throat, everything conspires to pull you under. You let your head nod once, twice, before snapping back, startled, and then you laugh quietly at yourself. Because here, In this fragile circle, even drowsiness feels like a rebellion against the merciless earth. For now, you are fed, you are safe, and your tribe breathes around you in unison. That's as close to peace as this world offers. The pot is empty, the bones gnawed clean, the basket stacked aside. The camp exhales as one, settling into the slow rhythm of afternoon. You lean back, stomach tight, eyes heavy, knowing the pause won't last. Soon, you'll need to rise, to mend, to guard, to prepare. But in this fragile slice of time, the world is quiet.